Here is the video for Katie on the pumpkin pie filling. Normally I use the large can of pumpkin, but I can't find the large can anywhere. So today I have two small cans. I do look at the directions on the back and follow them a little bit, but the thing I do is I don't add the ginger and the cloves because I don't like that flavor, and I use less of the evaporated milk that it calls for. So I'm going to show you how I do it, and then it's up to you to do what you want. So the first thing we're going to do is get my can opener over here. So I can open both of these cans. So I'm going to use two 15-ounce cans. So what I did was I just doubled the amount of sugar to go for the two cans. So I'm going to open up the two cans of the pumpkin, and you want to make sure it says pure pumpkin, not pie mix, because if it says pumpkin pie mix, it will have all the spices already. So you want to look to this 100% pure pumpkin. So make sure that you do that. So I'm going to open up this one too. This is such an easy recipe, it's not funny. This was my mom's recipe, which was the best. So this was Granny's. So I have the two cans of pumpkin. I'm going to just put them both in this bowl here. Now each can, this calls for ½ teaspoon salt, 3/4 cup of sugar, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. So naturally I just doubled that since I'm using two cans. So I'm going to go ahead and get all this that I can out of this can here. Both cans. Let me see. I want to hope that I can still see what I'm doing, which I think I can. Okay, so here's can number 2 of the pumpkin. So just get as much as I can out of there without making noise for the video. Okay. So then so my pumpkin is all in here. The recipe on the can calls for 2 eggs. Because I have 2 cans, I have 4 eggs that I cracked in my bowl over here. So I'm going to put these 4 eggs in here. You can mix them if you want a little bit with a fork. Some people do, some people don't. I'll mix them up just a little bit in my bowl before I put them in. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to take this and put it in here. Not rocket science. And just put it all in there. Okay. Mix it up a little bit just to kind of try to start blending it together some. And in my big measuring cup, I've doubled the sugar, so I have 1.5 cups of sugar here mixed with the cinnamon mixture that's also mixed together already. So I put the amount of cinnamon that it needs. I usually add more, so right here is 1.5 cups of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon together. Just kind of mix them. Doesn't really matter because they'll mix inside really well, so you don't have to worry about it. Not rocket science here either, so I'm just going to kind of mix it. Put, part of it in there. Mix it up a little. I'm going to switch to this spoon because I like it better. And then just kind of blend till it mixes together well. And then add the rest of the cinnamon and sugar. You can use your stand mixer if you want. I don't use it anymore because it's kind of a hassle and it's just easier to do it this way. So I'm going to continue to mix. Now I'm going to go ahead and probably add the rest of my sugar mixture in here. So I'm just going to dump this in there. Mix it again, kind of folding it in, mixing it together so it gets all yummy in there. The recipe calls for 2 cans of evaporated milk. I like the pie to be a little thicker, so I usually use 1.5 or maybe 1 2/3, a little more than half. So I'll show you though. So this is pretty well mixed together, you can sort of see. Okay, then you get your can of evaporated milk. This is 12 ounces, so you're gonna need 2 of these. Shake them really well. Okay, you can put one whole can in, and then when you get to the second can is when you want to be careful to not put the whole can. I personally don't like the whole can on the second one, so we can put the whole first can now. So we're just gonna dump it all in here like this. Mix it together slowly so it gets kind of mixed together. This is where you'll get a mess if you're not careful. So the bigger the bowl, the better, just because it keeps it from being so messy on your counter. So we're just continuing to mix this till it gets pretty well mixed in, which takes a little bit, but it's not bad. Fold it, fold it, fold it, mix it, whatever you gotta do. Sometimes you can use a wire whisk if you choose. It's up to you. Just don't puree it a lot, but I'm just using this spoon because it's easier when it's time to pour it in the pie crusts. Okay, so that's getting pretty well. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna shake the other can. And as you can see, there's a lot of sugar in this, so not diabetic friendly, but in moderation. Okay, so that's pretty well mixed. So we're gonna get the other can, another 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, shake it up really good. Here's where you start kind of guessing what you're gonna do for the, come out of there, for the amount you wanna use. I just kind of eyeball it as I go. So I'm gonna put in, I don't know, maybe about 1/4 of the can to begin with. Mix it all up and see how it is. I prefer it a little thicker than thinner, so. Which is the way my mom used to do it. Gran always made them with a little less milk too. We're just gonna continue to mix this. Round and round it goes until we get it how we want it. I do feel like I can add a little bit more. It's still a little bit thick. We just don't want it too thin. So I'm gonna put, I've used about down to here. So I think we'll just kind of say that we'll use half of it. So now I've used about half the can. So we'll mix this in. This is also when you want to take a little sample and see if there's enough cinnamon in it, because that's where you want to just add a little cinnamon to your own personal flavor preference. Mix it good. Keep mixing it. You can see that it's starting to get mixed in really good. Okay, so then you just kind of go like that. I think it tastes pretty good. But if you want to add a sprinkle or so of cinnamon, add a sprinkle of cinnamon. And the cinnamon, when I measured it, I measured heaping spoons. So that's the cinnamon. You don't have to measure that as precisely. That's just a preference on flavor. So here we have this, once it's all mixed in good, we've used about half of the second can. And then I will sometimes save the evaporated milk for gravy the next day, or a sauce with soup or something like that. But so this is pretty good as far as I'm concerned. So we're gonna move this over by the stove. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'll be right back, so just give me a minute. One second. Got her on pause. Might need you next week. Maybe not. We'll see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm moving my pie crusts to the oven now. So I'm taking the pie crusts that I prepared previously. Sorry. I'm gonna move it over here to the oven, and I'm gonna put them on the oven rack like this. And then I'm going to pour the pie filling in on each pie until it kind of equals, and that's it. So I'm going to pause the video because I just have to.